Well, hi, everybody. Welcome back to the Duff Athletic Center here on the campus of the University of Southern Mississippi for another one of our sit downs with our Director of Athletics, Bill McGillis. It's always a lot of fun to sit down with Bill and give him a chance to talk to you about some of the exciting things that are happening around the campus of Southern Miss. And Bill, we got a lot of things to talk about. Let's talk football first. That's the most recent thing. Eagles traveled up to Lexington, Kentucky, Commonwealth Stadium, knocked off the Kentucky Wildcats in the season opener. Had a great contingent of Golden Eagle fans in the stands, and just a great weekend. Great way to kick off the football season.
It really was, John, and it's we've had a great start to the fall semester, and we'll cover some of that as well. But this weekend was special, and we were at dinner the night before the game. Our alumni association did a terrific job of putting together an alumni tour. And Lexington is such a great community to visit. I know those folks that went up there, and we had a lot of people go. Had a great time. But at dinner on Friday night, and then I heard this during the day on Saturday, I had a number of people tell me, this feels like the old days. And that really resonated with me. I didn't get to experience the old days. I followed this program from afar over the last 25 years, but I didn't get to live it. And it's the joy that football game has brought to so many people, within the university, in our community, and Golden Eagles everywhere is really neat. And it was an amazing game, amazing weekend.
I give you a lot. I give you a lot of credit for that. I mean, you've done an amazing job, I think, of sort of getting that feeling back to the way it used to be at Southern Miss. Coach Hobson the same way. I tell him all the time, when I go out and watch practice, it sounds like Southern Miss and it feels like Southern Miss. And I think the combination of some of the things you have done and some of the things that Hop has done have really brought that back.
We've tried to stay true to Southern Miss, and that was important to me when I came, and because this tradition has been so strong, for so long. The brand has been so strong for so long, and it felt like during that competitive hiccup of a couple of years that, in particular, following the 2012 season, that we had lost our way a little bit in that regard, and I wanted to make sure we got back to our Southern Miss roots, and and that's manifested itself in many ways. Symbolically, in some ways, the uniform decision a year ago, I think, was part of that, and getting back to the black helmet and the black uniform, black socks, black shoes, black tape, black wristbands. Not that gold doesn't matter, because we are the Golden Eagles, and we'll have a surprise in store at some point. But the locker room, and I know we'll talk about that. But when you walk in that locker room, it's got a special Southern Miss feel to it. And I know for someone like yourself who's been through so many great seasons and experienced so many great moments and witnessed so many great players, I know that means a lot to you. And we had a chance when we went into the locker room before the team did to take some of our fans through, probably 30 or 40, and we'll get some more in there. But I think they were really struck by the awe of how special the room is and spectacular. But also, I think that Southern Miss feel, the historical moments that are chronicled there, the nasty bunch that's chronicled in the locker room, and so. But to your point, that is important. Jay's done a fabulous job since he's arrived, and he bleeds black and gold, and our people know that. And I think that has a lot to do with the momentum that we have right now.
Let's talk about that locker room. And you're right. I mean, I think when you walk in there, whether you've been around a long time like I have, or somebody might be fairly new to Southern Miss, there's something in there for everybody. You can, if you've been around, you sort of feel the tradition, you feel the history of the place. If you're someone new, you can read about it and feel it in a different way. And I think that's the neat feeling you get in that locker room. Talk about sort of the genesis there of why the new locker room and what you were trying to shoot for when you decided to design that.
Well, there were two reasons that it was necessary. One was just the original locker room in this building had run its course, and it was worn out after having 110, 120 guys in there for 12, 13 years in a row, and same locker. And it was a fine locker room when it was built, but its day had come. And so for the benefit of our current football team and the players and the functionality of the room, I felt like it was necessary. One of the things that I always found to be a challenge, and I went in that locker room after every home game my first 3 years, was I don't know that I ever saw the head coach actually speak with my own eyes. It was a traditional setup with straight rows of lockers, and the head coach really did not have a place from which to speak to the entire football team. So that's one of the things I like best about this design. Our architects, a firm out of Kansas City, AECOM, I thought did a great job of capturing a few things. One was the spirit of Southern Miss, and we took out the drop ceiling that was in there. We captured about another 6 feet up high. We painted the entire ceiling and structure black, and went with that industrial, gritty, determined feel that is Southern Miss. And so you experience that when you walk in, and the light fixtures and a lot of the materials in the room tie into that Southern Miss feel. But you've also got some sizzle, with today's amenities. The locker itself is fantastic. Designed by a firm out of Dallas, Holman Lockers, that's designed some of the best lockers in the country, for some of the top NFL teams, top college teams. I thought they did a super job of designing that, along with our staff. We did it collectively. But that's very modern. The way we did the player nameplates, I thought was really special. They're very custom to each player. They have each player's autograph on it, each player's ring size on it, as a little subtle reminder of what we're playing for. Their picture on it, and I think it really is a first-class representation for that player when he walks in the locker room. In terms of functionality, I thought it was a brilliant design, with a center hub from which the head coach, Jay, can see everybody in that locker room. So it's fantastic in that way. And we got away from the traditional rows of lockers, and we've got the center hub with kind of a spoke system of pods, 6 pods going around this center. And then the other thing I really like is how we opened up the space between the locker room and the team meeting room, which is often a public space. A lot of people get a chance to come into the team meeting room, not so many of the locker room. But we blew a hole in that wall, as you know, and we now have a glass entry going straight from the locker room into the team room. Makes it much more of one space. And then the graphics that we finished the room with, are really neat. Our fans who haven't had a chance to see it yet, or have not been able to closely digest the photo gallery or some of the videos, we have 6 walls in the center, and we were really intentional about what we wanted to put on those walls. And we worked with another great firm, Crystal Clear Imaging out of New Orleans. A couple of Southern Miss grads are key members of that staff there, and they spent a lot of time with us. And that center hub really represents both the history and the future of Southern Miss football. It's one wall is dedicated to the great wins in our school's history. A second wall maybe has more of a recruiting flair to it. It lists a lot of the achievements of the last 20 years, which I have in my hand, by the way, and I want to talk about these today. Because we've done some incredible things on the football field that people lose sight of, how great we've been. But so we have a wall in there that represents the fact that we are the winningest program in Mississippi the last 20 years. It's not Ole Miss, it's not Mississippi State, it is Southern Miss. And that's number of wins, number of bowl wins, number of bowl games, and then so many other things. 29 players drafted in the last several years, in the last 20 years, and the number of championships we have, as it relates to the rest of the country. The eighth most championships won in the last 20 years of anybody playing Division I football. So a lot of those things on that wall, a wall dedicated to Brett Favre and his induction into the Hall of Fame. And, we've got an aspirational wall, which has, if our fans haven't noticed, it's got 3 images on it. It's got the Conference USA Championship trophy. It's got the Cotton Bowl trophy, which is where the highest ranked team in the group of 5 conferences will play, if they're not in the playoff itself. And it's got the college football playoff logo. And that was very intentional. We want our players every day to walk by and think about what we aspire to do on the field. And it's those things this year. We've got a wall dedicated to the Nasty Bunch, and we've got another one that really represents, maybe the most dynamic young player in the NFL in Jamie Collins. So it's really neat. We threw in there that little ping pong table. I sent Chief of Staff Austin Cox and our Associate AD Marcy Lanou up to Chicago, flew them up there. rented a U-Haul truck and picked up a 500-pound ping pong table and drove it back to Hattiesburg, and we got that in the locker room in time for the team to come in, and it's really neat, John. We need to go play a game down there. By the way, we're the only school in college football that has this particular custom ping pong table, and the Saints have one. That's where I first saw it, and the Chicago Cubs have one, and the Boston Bruins. I like that company. I thought we'd keep it. We also have a bunch of electronics going in actually this week, and when people say why a ping pong table, why a bunch of TVs, it's the locker room oftentimes is kind of the getaway for a football team and for student athletes in all sports, and so you want to give them some amenities to enjoy their time away from the practice field, away from the game field, to bond with their teammates and enjoy college. And so we got some toys in there that will enable them to do that. Big impact in recruiting as well.
No question. All right, let's some of those numbers. Even Southern Miss fans who've been around a long time may not realize some of the things that we have achieved and how we've achieved it compared to the other people that we compete against around the country. Share some of those.
I will, because I never get tired of talking about this. And I'm going up to Jackson this week to speak to our Eagle Club, and I'm in on the coast speaking to the Gridiron Club down there in a couple of weeks, and was in Macomb recently to speak to their Rotary Club. And so when I go and speak and preach the gospel of the Golden Eagles, I always do it with a lot of inspiration, and I love telling the story. And this story is powerful. And in this era of conference alignment and realignment, we need to talk more and more about these kinds of numbers. But when you just look at the last 20 years, 140 wins at Southern Miss, and have you experienced all 140?
A lot of them.
Okay.
A lot of them.
Have you missed one in the last 20 years?
No.
Okay, well, you've experienced all 140 then.
That's right.
So, but nationally, if we were to rank ourselves among the high resource 5 conferences, we'd be right in the middle of that group. Okay, so you take those 5 leagues plus Notre Dame, competitively, we're right in the middle of that group. And when you look at the rest of the country, when you look at the group of 5 conferences who we're competing with on a regular basis, not that it's limited to that group, but we're competing with that group to get to New Year's Day, and to have the right seat at the table, in the future. But we rank 9th nationally among the 64 schools in wins, 2nd nationally in winning seasons. By the way, we would be 9th in winning seasons when you factor in the high resource 5 conferences, with 17 winning seasons in 20 years. I mean, that's a staggering statistic. But 2nd among the 64 group of 5 schools, also 2nd in terms of bowl games with 15 in 20 years. That had ranked 20th among the high resource 5. I won't use that other term that people like to use. 3rd among the group of 5 in bowl wins. 4th among the group of 5 in championships with 5. In terms of number of weeks ranked in the last 20 years, 3rd in the nation among the group of 5. In terms of the final top 25 ranking, we've been ranked the 4th most of the 64 schools in the group of 5. Draft picks, we rank 6th with 29. And it's not just that it happened under Jeff Bauer early in that 20-year period. It's happening right now, as evidenced by a 12-win season in 2011, a 9-win season, a West Division championship last year, a win at Kentucky this year. Collectively, over the last 20 years, I've done a lot of analysis. Boise State, BYU, and Southern Miss are the 3 most successful football programs outside of the high resource 5 in America. There's some others who can make an argument about being close, but it's BYU, Boise, Southern Miss. Those 3 have been the best on the field, and it's a great story to tell. And again, when you factor in the high resource 5, we rank very well too. When you look at particular conferences, where we rank among some of the leagues that our folks may aspire to, we rank very, very well among those schools. So it's just part of the story, but it's an important part. You take that success, which we've enjoyed for 100 years, but you look at the last 20 on the field, what we've done, you couple that with the facility improvements we've made in the last 15 years, which are really astonishing in some ways what's been achieved here in this market. You look at the academic success with 9 straight years of an improving GPA, 50 student athletes last year with one semester or another of a 4.0 GPA. A lot of dynamic things have happened here, and a lot of dynamic things are going to happen in the future.
All right, let's talk one last thing about football. Of course, Saturday, the home opener, Savannah State will be in here. It's Law Enforcement Appreciation Day. Looking forward to having a big crowd on hand. And I know Hop and I were talking about this the other day, how important it is to have that crowd in there and how that affects the team. We saw it at Lexington. I mean, there was obviously Eagle fans were outnumbered, but they made themselves heard and had an effect on the ball game. So important game on Saturday against Savannah State, and they need a big crowd.
It is, and Jay likes to talk about when you show up this season, it's not just about this Saturday or this season, but it's about the 2020 season, the 2021 season. Because when recruits come and visit here and they come to our home games, it makes an immense difference if Eagle Walk is absolute bedlam and if the stadium is full. To those impressionable 16, 17, and 18-year-olds as they're thinking about their decision where to come. Now, I also know on Saturday, it's going to make an impact in every future Saturday on our ability to win that game, and it's going to make an impact on our future in terms of being the best program in Conference USA, being among the best programs in the country, positioning ourselves for future conference alignment, and I've got to be honest. I love our momentum. But I don't understand why ticket sales are lagging a bit. And everybody that cares about Southern Miss needs to get on board. It's not about the opponent we're playing on Saturday. It is about Southern Miss, this team, watching your Golden Eagles and doing your part to help position us for national success. And I think we're going to have a nice crowd on Saturday. I really hope that every day that goes by between now and then, our folks continue to flock to the Ferlisi Center, as many have this week. We've had some fun with some fans as they've purchased season tickets, and we are still selling season tickets, by the way, through this football game. So there continues to be that opportunity. And I'm really proud of our whole staff, Brent Jones, his team, for the effort they put into Law Enforcement Day and Law Enforcement Appreciation Day. And a lot of our fans have stepped forward and purchased tickets so that members of the law enforcement community can come to this game and their families. We're going to recognize them on the field. We've got some other things we're going to do that I think will be very powerful in terms of image and symbolism and unity at that game, that will represent what the Southern Miss community and the law enforcement community in the Pine Belt is all about. And we're going to lock arms on Saturday with those folks, and the game's going to be a blast. And we're going to finish it off with the light show afterwards, which has become an annual tradition, a great fireworks show. And weather's supposed to be good, John. I think it's going to be a fantastic day for college football. And it's easy to see if you look ahead what a special season this might be. But at the same time, the only one that matters is the next game. That's it.
Yeah.
And so as administrators, as players, as coaches, as fans, we need to make this Saturday a great one.
And I think, as you say, I mean, if you're around it, you realize something special is happening. Something special is in the process of happening here. And now's the time to sort of hop on board and be a part of it. If you've been away for a while, come back. If you've never experienced before, come try it out, because now's the time to get on board, because it's heading in the right direction.
No doubt. And it's a great chance to make a statement. It's a great chance for us to make a statement to all of college football. And one of the things I like about the new system with the college football playoff is the weekly attention that will be given to the college football playoff rankings starting at the midpoint of the season. And I think that's a way for fans to really get dialed in and be really engaged. And this could be a season where we're factored into that scenario. And so, but when the college football playoff folks when the national media, looks at Southern Miss, I want them to see a full stadium. I want them to see the Rock and its home field advantage that we know can be. And Jay talks about the game in 2003 against TCU and how that environment was as incredible as any environment in college football. And I know that's the case. I want to experience it myself this year.
You mentioned Law Enforcement Appreciation Day. We've had such a great relationship with the law enforcement folks in the South Mississippi and around the state of Mississippi. It's going to be neat to be able to honor them. There's a number of former Southern Miss football players who are in law enforcement, including the Chief of Police here in Hattiesburg, Anthony Stoney Parker.
Yep.
So always been a great connection between Southern Miss and law enforcement.
No doubt. And, we start our football season every year with an appreciation breakfast for our first responders and law enforcement and others who help make these football games happen. Mm-hmm. It takes a lot of people to provide a safe environment, an environment where traffic works and everything else. And our law enforcement community has always done that very well. But we've asked Chief Parker, who's a great Golden Eagle, to actually handle the coin toss for us on Saturday. So I'm looking forward to that. And, we'll have representatives from all of the agencies in the Pine Belt region. So it's going to be a great way to honor them and their families, bring them some joy, and I think it's going to be a neat day.
Don't want to run out of time without talking about some of the fall sports that are underway besides football. Volleyball's off to a heck of a start. They've got a chance to be right in the thick of things in the Conference USA race. Soccer is underway. I guess cross country is just about ready to get underway. Yep. So, sometimes I think we get so involved in football, but there's a lot of other great athletes, a lot of other great teams at Southern Miss that are off to a good start and are going to have a good year.
I'll tell you what, we talked in the spring and we probably talked in July, the last time we sat down, about the momentum that really took hold during the baseball season. With that special season that Scott Berry and his team had, that really gave us some traction. And then we went into the summer, and it was so spectacular with Brett being inducted in the Pro Football Hall of Fame, a Golden Eagle for the second time in 3 years. And then Tori Bowie with just, what a performance. Mm-hmm. The fastest woman in America, winning gold, silver, and bronze, and representing the university, the community, and the state so well. And then Brian Dozier, everything he was doing, when we talked in July, now it's on a whole nother plateau. It's Babe Ruthian right now, what Brian Dozier is doing. It's amazing. But that momentum just continued, and it's continued this fall. Volleyball, as you mentioned, great start. They go last weekend into Baton Rouge, and this doesn't happen very often. They beat a team from the from the SEC and LSU. They beat a team from the ACC in Virginia, and they beat a team from the American Athletic Conference in UConn. And that's a tremendous achievement. Mm-hmm. But they're off to a great start. Soccer is off to the best start in the school's history. Coach Mo doing a great job with that team, and he's really had them on a good, steady climb. And then you mentioned cross country, and the ladies who've under Aaron Kent and John Stewart have really improved in the last few years. They've always been tremendous in the classroom. They continue to do that, and now they're just getting faster and faster. But an unbelievable achievement last weekend when they go to Louisiana Monroe and they finish first, second, third, fourth, fifth, and sixth. They run the table. A flush, whatever you want to call it, whatever the cross country equivalent of a card game is, they did it, and so that's been neat. And I think as we've talked about, we had one of the best springs, probably the best in a decade competitively, and this fall it's lining up right now like it may do the same thing, and then that's going to lead into the winter, and I want to mention real quickly just. With men's and women's basketball, Joy's going to keep her program going in a good direction, and I'm especially pleased for Doc Sadler, for our basketball players and program and our fans that care about basketball, that thing's kind of turned. Mm-hmm. And, I went to practice last week, John, and there were 17 players in uniform. 17. 12 scholarship, 5 walk-on, 17 good players. And you think back to where Doc was with 7, 8, 9 guys to practice, 4 games to finish one particular game, and to see him have a full contingent of 17 and have the new challenge of how do I practice with 17 is neat. And then the way he retooled his staff and brought this new group together with Clarence Weatherspoon and everything Spoon adds, and Chris Croft moving from the basketball operations to on the floor coaching, and then his last addition of Kyle Roan, who's another Golden Eagle, who's lived and died with Southern Miss basketball. For Doc to be able to hire him away from southeastern Louisiana to complete that staff is really exciting. I love the fact that together with Marcus Townsend, who's a good young assistant coach, that Doc now has 3 Mississippians with Spoon, with Chris, and with Kyle. And I think that was a smart move on his part, brilliant move on his part. And I just like the direction of that program. And it's been really good on the field, and a lot of great things happening on campus too. I know Dr. Bennett's excited. Quality of students of entering freshmen is up again. Retention rate for Southern Miss students has increased. And all of those indicators are really positive. And you mix that in with the great success in athletics, and it's a formula for a very bright future for Southern Miss.
I don't want to get myself in trouble because I didn't mention Erica Brennan in the women's golf program and Jerry Weeks in the men's golf program, because both of them are getting started here in the month of September.
And they'll be watching. They'll be watching.
Yeah.
So they would bring that to your attention if we left them out. But no, they've got good falls ahead of them, as do the tennises. You know, tennis and golf are the sports, along with basketball, that play both competitively in the fall and in the spring. And women's golf, I know, opens up down in Mobile, and men's golf right after that. And so good stuff happening there on the tennis courts as well. And Scott Berry and his baseball program, Wendy and her softball program have already started practice. Those practices are open to the public. You know, Wendy and Scott don't mind if people come by and watch. They'll soon be inter-squatting, which is always fun when the weather's great, and it's a great time. It really is. And you know, I'm thinking back, John, to our guest speaker that came in to talk to all 360 student athletes, Goody Goodlow, and amazing guy. And he's someone who's going to be around all year long, inspiring our student athletes. But he talked. He spoke to all student athletes the day before school started, and he talked about that night being a defining moment for our student athletes. To think of that night as a defining moment, and I found myself a couple of times since then looking at some of the things that have occurred, including that win in Lexington, as another defining moment. And there's more to come.
Let me ask you one final thing. I always like you to give a chance to talk about maybe what's in the future, what's up next. I know one thing I've heard you talk about, and you may not want to get too much into specifics, but you're in the process of studying to add a couple of sports here at Southern Miss. So there's some things out there on the horizon. You may not want to get into too many specifics, but what is next? What's coming up here in the next month or so?
No, great question, and I know that topic was covered by the media this week, and we have been studying for several months the potential addition of a new women's sport, and we're looking at short, mid, and long term what's best for the program. But we want to and need to provide more opportunities for females, and we're going to do that. And we're studying 5 or 6 different sports that we think would be good additions to our program, and at some time in the next month or two, we'll land on a direction and a potential addition, and that would be phased in over a period of a few years. There's a lot that goes into when you do add a program in terms of planning properly. You don't just start competing. You know, you hire a coach, you recruit for a year, you may practice for a year. You know, it's that kind of transition. But I'm excited about that. And then on the facility front, in addition to the football locker room that we're so proud of, and I'm so excited for our team, it really is as nice as there is in the country. It's that nice. It's that nice. We're not overstating it when we talk about it in those kinds of terms. We go back into the weight room here in the next couple weeks and add in the final graphics in there, which will kind of give the weight room, which is an outstanding facility, but the finishing touch will be the sizzle, the wow factor there. We're going to put a nutrition bar in there, and then we'll move upstairs, start working on the nutrition center and the refurbishing of the M Club, which is exciting. But the big project that's on the horizon is that academic center, the Bauer Academic Excellence Center, and we had a lot of our fans who've been very generous in making contributions over the last several months to that project. It's a $2 million campaign. We're probably up to about $1.6 million right now in commitments, so we're closing in on the finish line. I would like to ask our fans who have the opportunity and interest in supporting our student athletes. It's a great way to do it, and I feel great about honoring Coach Bauer and his family in that way. And it's a building that is more important to us than the locker room, more important to us than the weight room, even though most people may not believe that, and you don't read about that like you do the scoreboard. But we must have a first-class academic center here to have the kind of program we want and to support our student athletes the way we want to win in the classroom, to win on the playing field, to win in the community. So that project's going to happen in 2017. And we just got to get a little bit closer, and then we'll get a shovel in the ground and start going on construction. So I'm really excited about that.
As we wrap up, it's funny you should say those 3 W's there. I was going to ask you, that's kind of been your rallying cry here at Southern. Do you feel good about where you are in regards to that, the winning in the classroom, winning on the field, winning in the community?
I do. I feel good about where we are. As Jay likes to say, it's a we journey, not a me journey. And when we talked last year about to the top together, there's just no doubt that's the way to get it done here, is all of us coming together. And I've talked a couple times this year about a twist on that also, and it being to the top today. There is a sense of urgency, John, and it's been fairly well chronicled. And Jason Munns from the Hattiesburg American and I had a chance to visit at length about that, and I shared in pretty straightforward terms that now's the time, and it really is, and that's why I say to the top today. And I'm so thankful, so appreciative of all of the Golden Eagles, all of our alums, everybody in the community who's not an alum, who's supporting our program. And we just need more and more people to get on board. And, I'd like to invite those that are fans, that are donors, that are in the Eagle Club, that are season ticket holders, to bring someone else on board with them this Saturday, future Saturdays, to our other games and other sports, and to the Eagle Club. We have to double the number of members in the Eagle Club, the amount of giving. We need to take that from $2 million to $4 or $5 million to sustain a successful program. I mean, it's imperative, and that season ticket base, we need to keep building that as well. So, but I'm excited, very excited about where we are, where we're headed, what's on the horizon, and there's no ceiling for our program. We can play on the biggest stage. We can graduate 100% of our student athletes. We can prepare them for life, and we can have the kind of program that will bring credit to our university, into our community every day, and by and large, that's happening right now.
Well, Bill, thanks for your great leadership. We're getting to the top together, thanks to the great leadership you're providing here at Southern Miss. We always enjoy sitting down with you and catching our fans up on some of the things they might not know about, not hear about. So thanks for doing that, sharing all the great information, and we'll look forward to doing this again real soon.
Thank you, John.
All right, that's Bill McGillis. He's our Director of Athletics here at Southern Miss. Again, kind of a behind-the-scenes look with Bill about some things that you need to know about what's happening here at Southern Miss. We'll see you at the game on Saturday against Savannah State. We'll see you at the Rock all season long. Thanks for being with us. We'll see you next time.